Hey there. So this is the beginning of my gear dump / gear review video. I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna start with what I ended up with in the desert and then move backwards to the Sierra and the pack I had there and the equipment, and then back to the beginning. And I'll go over what I had in the end, what I had and got rid of. And then at the very end, after I go over the pack and what I had in it, I'll go over each item and say why I liked it or why I sent it home. So let's get started. This is the pack that I ended up with, and these are the items I ended up with. I did have a sun umbrella, and these were not the flip-flops I had. They're just here to represent the Dollar General flip-flops I had for $1.09 that only weighed 4.5 ounces. So my base weight at the end with the umbrella was approximately 13 pounds, and I was gonna get rid of the umbrella at Lake Arrowhead and finish up without it. So I would have been around a base weight of 12 pounds, 10 ounces. So what I carried, let's unpack from the outside. So I had a pair of flip-flops for camp. Very nice to have a pair of camp shoes. I chose to have a pair of camp shoes. I could have just walked around in my Ultras, but it's nice to have your feet air out really well, and something to get into in the middle of the night should you have to go to the bathroom. I always had a little clothespin on here. That way I could hang my socks or what have you and dry it out. That was on all my packs. I always had my CNOC 2-liter bladder for getting water and putting it through my Sawyer squeeze. I always had my toilet paper in this black bag with my, what do they call this? I always forget the name of this thing. The Deuce number 2. Worked very well. I'm not a bidet guy. So that was on the outside of my pack in the mesh. I always had my brick inside of this Dyneema pouch from Mount Laurel Designs. It's a 10,000 milliamp brick. Has 10,000 milliamp brick from Anker. It's all I ever needed. Only once did this run out, and I get maybe twice I got this to run out and low on power, and that was my fault usually for not charging enough while I was in town or had the ability to. Cord for my iPhone. I had the cord for my watch, which I only used once because this is a solar powered Garmin. Probably didn't need this, but I carried it anyway just in case. I had a cord for the brick, and this is also the one that I use for my Nitecore Headlamp. Then I had this cord for my Garmin. Also in here was the charging block that I ended up getting a double, which I recommend having a double. The Nitecore charging block that I took with me didn't work. The USB didn't insert all the way. I'll show you that later. So that was one of the pouches I had in there. I also had my headphones were in here until I switched them to my fanny pack. I went back and forth on that. I'm not a headphone guy. I don't listen to podcasts or music while I'm on the trail. I just hike along and listen to nature. This is my now named triage center. So I have all my first aid stuff in here and other miscellaneous stuff. So let's see if I can go through that pretty quick. This is a little Z-Pax medium-sized Dyneema. Maybe it's a small, I'm not sure the size, but you can kind of get an idea of here. It's probably 7 inches by 5 inches. So I had some Tiger's Balm in there. Came in pretty handy. I have dental floss, which I used both for obviously my teeth, but for putting a piece through my blisters with the needle when I needed to. Some Gas X pills, because you don't have the best digestive system on trail. Some caffeine pills in the desert because water was scarce and the caffeine gets you going. I have my spare lighter. I always had a spare lighter, never needed it. That one little bitty lighter got me 1,420 miles, so keep that in mind. One lighter is good for a long, long time. Had a spare sports cap. Always had my KT tape or rock tape. I prefer rock tape, but all they had on trail mostly available was KT tape, which is fine. I like the KT tape. Fingernail clippers. Gotta have them. Use them a lot. And then this unique item, which I'll go over later, is a G-Works. Let's see if I can get it in there. This is the G-Works valve that I use to transfer gas from a newer canister that I would get a hiker box, still a gas left in it, to my canister. I got my canister to go 1,033 miles. I went on one canister using this. It's only 1.5 ounces, so this is well worth it. And I'll show you how to do that in another video. In this bag, I have all of my first aid stuff, a lot of which I didn't use. So, gauze pad, stair strips, never got a big wound, didn't need to use them. Compeed patches, very good thing to have. These are for the blisters when you get them. These things stick. Don't get the other ones. Get Compeed. Best for blisters, in my opinion. I had some spare pills, just in case my main set wore out. Some Advil, and I have acid reflux, so I take pantoprazole. Had that in there. Or Compeeds. Backup Gas X. Only used 3 of these pills, but they're good to have. I probably had way too many. Got your Tenacious Tape. I used this quite a bit in like Etna, when between Sayed Valley and Etna, my first Thermarest Neo X-Lite, whatever pad, it got holes in it. I'll go over that in the first segment video, which is after this. More Thermarest repair. I had some water tabs, never had to use them. The Sawyer squeeze is probably enough, probably don't need tabs. I had some butterfly bandages. Again, never got a bad wound that I needed this. Let's see, some Band-Aids, like the finger ones. I had some alcohol patches, other assorted Band-Aids. And highly recommend having something like this wound seal. You get a bad cut, you can just pour this in there and it reacts to your blood. It's a powder and seals your wound. Better than the Steri strips, probably better than the butterfly bandages in the end, okay? Also, don't leave home without it. Some Lotrimin. Never know when you're gonna get funky skin out there. I've used 2 tubes of this stuff. You get really wet all the time in the rain and you're hiking, you're gonna have issues. You're gonna wanna have some of that. This little bitty guy, it just has some Neosporin in it. And that's about all you need. It's just a little bitty one, okay? Don't need a whole tube of it. So that's kind of what was in my first aid kit. Blue ball. I'm not a big fan of the cork ones. These ones are squishy. They roll your foot out better. So I use this at night and I use this in the morning. Every night and every morning. When I wasn't using it, that's when I started having the heel issues, the plantar fasciitis and the heels being sore. When I started using this every night and every morning, I was fine, along with stretching. The old Sawyer squeeze. Sawyer squeeze, it's the filter on trail. There is no substitute. I use the adapter on here so I can attach it straight to the smart water bottle and squeeze without having to balance it or spill water. It's something you need to get, is this little blue adapter. You should have it. Moving on. At the end there I had 2 1.5 liter Essentials, which I got rid of in Lake Arrowhead. I bought these just for the video, so there you went. I would spend some money to show you guys. These are squattier and nicer, I think, than the smart water bottles. Thank you, Muggle, on that tip. So I had 2 1.5s, that's 3 liters. And I also had picture sport caps on both these. I also had these 2 1 pint, I guess we call them a 3/4 liter, 0.75 liter. I'm pretty sure about 0.75 liter smart water bottles in each pocket. That gave me another 1.5 liters. So that gave me 4.5 liters for the desert. I never needed more than that. And when I did carry 4.5 liters, I usually ended up at the next water supply in 13 to 22 miles with 1.5 liters of water left over. But carry more water than you think you need. It's always good, because I was going through more than 1 liter every 5 miles in the end when it was hot and windy. Garmin. I have the Garmin Mini 2. Loved it. Highly recommend getting a Mini. I don't think they make anything but the Mini now, so there you go. In this pocket on my Atom Pack is where I carried my toothbrush and toothpaste. I just carry a little travel one. This is also where I carried my hydration tablets. I was using the Nooms. I had a mix of flavored ones and caffeinated ones. Caffeinated ones get a little more boost. So that's it for the outside, except for my Mount Laurel Designs 1/8 inch pad, which I carried on the whole trail. As far as I went, the 14-20 miles, I had this the whole time, from the first pack to this pack. Rolls out. I use it for like an entryway to my tent. I sit on it, stretched out on it. I'm glad I carried this. All right, let's move on to the inside of the pack. Z-Packs Ultiplex. And inside here I've got my steaks. I carried them in a little pouch. Some people just roll the steaks up in the tent. I didn't like that idea. The pouch basically weighs half an ounce, so I made this extension. I'll go over this in another video. I made this extension out of 1/4-inch PVC pipe for my trekking pole because you need to have a 58-inch pole, and my poles at the beginning, my Leckies and the ones at the end that I bought, the black diamonds, they didn't extend that far. You need an extension of some kind. Not wanting to spend extra money, I made my own. I used the groundhogs. I think these are 6-inch, maybe 7-inch, I forget. The groundhog steaks by MSR. I have 8 of those, and I had 3. One out here for you. 3 of the Shepherd's Hook titanium. Lost one on trail. I put grommets in my Tyvek, which I'll show you. When it's really windy, you need to put rocks down on your Tyvek, or you need to put a stake through the grommets that you put in your Tyvek, like I did. Tyvek. Cut to size with grommets that I put in there myself. Just the ground sheet helps protect the bottom of your tent. I recommend having a piece of this. It's cheap, it's easy. Get it from one of your buddies that's a contractor, go buy some. Z-Packs food bag. I never did end up using the bear hang rope with rocks. There's really not that many trees and an ability to do that on trails. So for the most part, we slept with our food. In the Sierra, obviously, and other places like Desolation this year, you had to have a bear can. I'll go over those later when I'm going through that backpack setup. Titanium Toques spoon, long spoon. My Thermarest pad. The NeoAir X-Lite. This was my second one. The first one, I'll show you what happened to it. But it got a lot of holes in it. So never take this thing out and spread it out on the ground to dry out. Hold it by hand. These things are fragile. So keep it always in your pack, always in your tent. And if it gets wet, man, hold it by hand. Or dry it out later. They dry out really fast, so hardly ever got it wet. Not a big issue. I did use the air inflator that came with it. Especially when you're at altitude, huffing and puffing, you're gonna pass out, man, if you're puffing too hard into that thing at 13,000, 10,000 feet. This, I figured out how to use it really well. Maybe I'll show you how I used it. I would get in 10 pumps, I would be inflated. It was really fast using this. Also, it seconds as a laundry bag, which is very handy in town. Next, I'm going to get into my bag liner, which was also my airport bag. This is a Z-Packs airport bag. I think it was like $70. This is what I flew home with. It worked good. It's also a great bag liner. I think we were in the rain 5 or 6 times, some heavy downpours. Never got my stuff wet. In the desert, I went a little lighter, and I got a standard length, standard everything basically, UGQ Banded XL 30-degree bag. It was about 9 ounces lighter than my 20-degree UGQ Banded XL. that I had in a long, wide, big toe box. Probably unnecessary for me to get the wide, big toe box on that one, but hey, you live and learn. I'll show you that quilt in another video. I love this quilt. Probably gonna use this most of the time unless it's gonna be in a place where we're gonna get down to 30 degrees or below. Down the bottom there, I put my cook set because it didn't pack anywhere else conveniently than here. This is my homemade out of window reflective screen that I got at like Napa Auto Parts. There's videos online of how to make these. They're just keep your stuff warm after you're cooking. I had a this is not usually in here. This is usually around my head for sweating. This is my blue bandana that I always wore under my hat, if you will. Got the typical BRS stove. Everybody's seen these stoves. A lot of people use them. When it was windy, I would just make my own windscreen out of rocks or dig down. Or I never had a problem. I carried a windscreen at the beginning. I used it twice. I ended up getting rid of that. This bandana I use to put around, if I can find it. Anyway, canister. So I put this over here, plop the canister down inside so it didn't rattle. It's just a Toke 750. I prefer to have the little handle on top because I also go out and bushcraft, and I use this sometimes, and that way I can use it over a fire. The handle basically doesn't change the weight very much. And the old Enlightened Equipment Torrid puffy jackets. Love this puffy jacket. It was also my pillow. I'll show you why that was my pillow. Spare clothing bag. Okay. That's it for the inside. So let's go over this. This is my stuff sack that I carried my spare clothing in. It's Z-Packs. It's also a pillow. So inside here I had my Russ Athletic Gear shirt that I picked up in Ridgecrest. I sent my Ridge Merino hoodie home. It was no longer necessary. It was getting too warm. So this is lighter. I carried that for my sleeping shirt and town shirt. I have a pair of Land's End thermal underwear. Wore these every night. Keeps the dirt off your quilt and off your thermarest and keeps you warm. I also wore a pair of Smart Wool socks when I slept because your feet are super dirty and I like my feet warm. So this is how I kept my feet warm and kept everything clean. Not dirty up my quilt, my thermarest. There's no way I could have slept well without a beanie. I chose to have a Z-Packs. I think this is the possum fleece or whatever they call it. Love this beanie. Slept really well with this. Put it over your eyes. If the moon's bright, the sun's still up a little bit, it blocks the light out. Slept well. Spare pair of socks. And then I'll show you, this is, you turn inside out, you got the fleece on here. It's super soft. So what I would do is I'd take my spare socks. I would take the Outdoor Research sun hoodie that I was wearing. I'd put it in here. And then you take the puffy, you stuff it in here. Close it up. Like so. And this is one awesome cushy pillow. So much better than an air pillow in my opinion. The only downfall is if you get really cold and you need to use your puffy, while you're sleeping in your sleeping bag, which never happened to me, you're not going to have much of a pillow. You're going to have to take some other clothing or something and stick it in there, and you'll have less of a pillow, but you'll still have a pillow. So that's it for my setup for the desert. I did go to this pack after my REI Flash 45 because, frankly, between this and the lighter quilt, I was basically 2 pounds lighter, and that's a liter of water in the desert. So next, I will go over what I carried from Chester, where I live here in California, to basically Ridgecrest. I carried this pack from Ridgecrest, California to Lake Arrowhead, where I got off trail, and that ended up being about 353.5 miles. So I'll go over what I like about this pack and all the other packs and gear later, but right now I just want to show you what I had carried and why. At the beginning in the desert, I carried 4 1-liter smart water bottles in the 2 pockets, but it was more water than I needed. It made the pockets so that I couldn't put my trekking poles in them when I got a hitch. So I ended up going to the 1.5-liter bottles because I didn't need that much water volume, and that way I could put my trekking poles in the pockets and cinch them down when I needed to hitch to town or take a bus or whatever. So next up, we'll go through what I carried from Chester, California to Ridgecrest in my REI Flash 45. Whoopsie, I forgot to go over one thing in the bottom of this pack. So the bottom of this pack, and just like a light AF pack, they have a stretchy pocket, and I did have a mosquito head net. And if you ever encountered those little black gnats that fly in your face and they never go away, man, when they 1 or 2, fine, but you get 5 or 6 or 7 of those things, man, they go up your nose, they go in your mouth, they go in your ears, they drive you crazy, and you're going to want a head net the whole way from Ashland all the way to Lake Arrowhead, on and off. Always had those little black gnats. Like, there was only a few days where they went away. I did carry some outdoor research sun gloves, which I mostly used when it was cold in the morning. My hoodie covered my hands mostly, so hardly ever use these for the sun, but they did come in handy when it was cold. Pair of Rooster Specials. These are frog togs that you cut into shorts. Rain shorts, brilliant. So in town when you're doing laundry, you got shorts. When it rained, man, I don't care about my legs. Your feet are gonna get wet anyway. This kept your shorts dry. It was just enough rain cover. And it wasn't cold enough where I needed windproof pants or rain pants that were full length. That we never had that much cold because we're going Sobo and we start off in late June. If you're in the Sierra and you're going Nobo and it's early on, you're going to want a full set of rain pants. So also had my Marmot Precip rain jacket. And one thing I will say about this really quickly is that it didn't come rainproof. I was told you could put it in the dryer, it'll kind of reactivate and spread the wax out on it, the finish that they had on there. But at Mammoth Lakes, at the outfitter there, I ended up buying some of the put it in the washing machine, recoat your rain jacket, waxy stuff. Anyway, I'll have to figure out what that was called and what I used, and I'll let you know when I do my gear review. But that definitely waterproofed this thing, and it was good to go. So there you go. Whoops, forgot that bottom pocket. Super handy, love the bottom pocket. All right, that takes care of that. We'll see you in the next video. Double whoopsie. All right, forgot the bottom pocket of the pack, and I also forgot to tell you what I was carrying in my Hyperlite Versa fanny pack. I love this fanny pack. So handy. I had my phone, which is filming this, in the front little zip pocket. Fits perfect. I always carried, and I highly recommend, having a little Gold Bond powder. This was really hard to find on trail. For some reason, there's a national shortage of Gold Bond, especially the little bitty ones. But I had purchased and had probably 10 of these things before I hit trail, and I'd send them to myself, or we'd find a big one and refill these little ones. Gold Bond powder, good stuff. Had this fancy microphone for when it was really windy. I think I used it 6 times. Probably didn't need to carry this, but when it was windy and I wanted to talk, this came in handy. I liked it. Probably not going to carry it again. Had a pair of these readers. Come in this little canister. I forget who makes them, and you can find them on Amazon. If you see this little, looks like a Zippo lighter canister. These are really nice because they have the arms that extend. Pair of readers because I'm old and I need them. Lens cleaner for my sunglasses, for the phone. My Nitecore headlamp was in there. I had a different headlamp at the beginning, and I'll show you that one and why. But I figured we'd be doing a lot more hiking as the days got shorter. And if it was really hot, I would want something that was USB rechargeable. Some lip balm. I don't use much lip balm, but I used it twice, and when I needed it, it was good to have. Little baby Sharpie that I put some of that stretchy, I don't know what you call it, but you cover your wounds with it, stretches and seals to itself. That was good for my toes. I used the Sharpie quite a bit for sending packages home and other things. Love the little bitty Swiss Army knife. Used the knife a few times for opening packages and stuff. Used the tweezers once for a splinter, but the scissors basically make this invaluable. Let's see. Again, I carried my Advil and my acid reflux with the caffeine pills in there. Advil got me through a lot. Earplugs, probably use these 2 or 3 times. I don't like sleeping with them in my ears, but they came in handy. They're light, might as well have them. Get my headphones in there. I chose to have the one that hooks up to the flash port on my iPhone instead of having rechargeable earbuds. Downfall is when you're charging, you can't have in your earbuds, but use these every night, listen to my audiobooks. Add my campfire permit, my PCT permit in here. And that's it. This fanny pack was awesome. I love it. If I had another pouch on the side of my Atom pack, might have been able to do without it. And I could have put the phone in the other pouch, but honestly, I'll probably always carry this fanny pack. So that concludes my double whoopsie follow-up, and on to the next video, for reals this time.